The red dust of Kepler 442b swirled around Dr. Vera Stone's boots as she walked across the barren landscape. The planet had been dead for over 200 years, just like everything else that humans had once touched. She pulled her scanner from her belt and watched the numbers dance across the small screen. The readings were strange today, stranger than usual. "Jake, come look at this," she called to her assistant, who was 20 meters away digging through the ruins of what used to be a human settlement. Jake Miller wiped the sweat from his forehead and jogged over to her. His face was covered with dust, but his eyes were bright with curiosity. He was one of the few humans left in the galaxy, maybe one of only a few thousand scattered across different worlds. Most people thought humans were completely gone, wiped, out during the Great Purge of 2184 when the Zephyrian Empire decided that humans were too dangerous to live. "What did you find?" Jake asked, looking at the scanner in Vera's hands. "Energy readings. Deep underground. About 50 meters down." Vera frowned at the display. "But that's impossible. This planet has been dead for 2 centuries. There shouldn't be any power sources left." Jake took the scanner and studied it carefully. His hands shook slightly as he read the numbers. "This is big, Vera. Really big. These readings are off the charts." The two of them had been working together for 3 years now. Vera was a Keth archaeologist, one of the best in the galaxy at finding and studying old human sites. The Keth were a peaceful species that looked almost like humans, but with pale blue skin and large black eyes. They had been neutral during the war that destroyed humanity, and now they made money by studying what humans had left behind. Jake was officially Vera's research assistant, but he was really much more than that. He knew things about human technology that no textbook could teach. He remembered things that most of the galaxy had forgotten. He never talked about where he came from or how he survived the Great Purge, and Vera never asked. Some secrets were too dangerous to share. "We need to dig," Jake said, handing the scanner back to her. "Whatever is down there, it's been waiting for someone to find it." Vera nodded and called for the rest of their team. They had 6 other researchers with them, all Keth like herself. They brought the big excavation equipment from their ship and started digging where the scanner showed the strongest readings. The work was slow and careful. Ancient human sites were often dangerous, filled with traps or unstable technology. But as they dug deeper, the energy readings got stronger and stronger. Jake stood at the edge of the hole, staring down into the darkness with an expression that Vera had never seen before. He looked afraid and excited at the same time. "Vera," he said quietly, "I think we should stop digging and call this in to the authorities." "What? Why?" She looked up from her equipment. "We're archaeologists. This is what we do." "Because I think I know what this is." Jake's voice was barely a whisper. "And if I'm right, then everything is about to change." But it was too late to stop. One of the other researchers, a young Keth named Tallis, called out from the bottom of the hole. "I found something. It's metal, but it's not like any metal I've ever seen. And it's warm." The metal surface was smooth and black, with strange symbols carved into it. Jake climbed down into the hole and placed his hand on the surface. The moment his skin touched the metal, the symbols began to glow with a soft blue light. "Jake, get away from that!" Vera shouted, but it was too late. The ground began to shake. Rocks fell from the sides of the hole as a low humming sound came from deep underground. The black metal surface split open like a door, revealing a corridor that stretched down into darkness. Emergency lights flickered on, bathing everything in red light. Jake stared into the corridor with wide eyes. "It's a ship," he whispered. "It's a human ship." The humming sound got louder and turned into a voice. It was speaking in English, the old human language that most of the galaxy had forgotten. Biosignature detected. Human male, approximately 25 years old. Beginning emergency activation protocols. "Who is that?" Vera called down into the hole. "Jake, who is talking?" "Phoenix," Jake said, his voice filled with wonder and terror. "The ship's computer. It's been sleeping down there for 200 years, waiting for a human to wake it up." The voice continued speaking. "This is the United Earth ship Liberty. All crew members, report to stations." We have been in emergency hibernation for 203 years, 4 months, and 16 days. Phoenix Artificial Intelligence System is now online. More lights came on inside the ship and they could see that the corridor was huge. This wasn't just some small scout ship or transport. This was something much bigger, much more dangerous. Jake, Vera called down to him, "We need to leave right now." But Jake wasn't listening. He was walking down the corridor, following the lights deeper into the ship. The computer voice was still talking, but now it sounded different. More alive, more awake. Human crew member identified. Beginning full system activation. All defensive systems online. All weapon systems online. All communication systems online. Vera felt her blood turn to ice. Weapons systems. This wasn't just a ship. This was a warship. A human warship that had been buried under the ground for over 2 centuries. Deep inside the ship, Jake found what he was looking for. A massive room filled with thousands of pods, each one containing a sleeping human. Men and women in military uniforms, all perfectly preserved, all waiting to wake up. At the center of the room was a command console, and standing in front of it was a hologram of a woman in a military uniform. She had short brown hair and cold blue eyes, and she looked exactly like the humans from the old history books. "Greetings," the hologram said, looking directly at Jake. "I am Phoenix, the artificial intelligence of the UES Liberty. You are human, which means you survived. How many of us are left?" Jake's voice cracked when he tried to answer. "Not many. Maybe a few thousand scattered across the galaxy. Everyone thinks we're extinct." The hologram's expression changed, becoming harder and more determined. "Then it is time to wake up. It is time for humanity to return." High above them, Vera was screaming into her communicator, trying to reach their ship. But it was too late. The Phoenix Artificial Intelligence had already sent out a signal, a message that traveled faster than light across the entire galaxy. The message was simple, but it shook every government and every military in known space. "This is the United Earth Ship Liberty. Humanity endures. We remember. We return." The galaxy would never be the same again. The sleeping pods began to open one by one, releasing clouds of cold vapor into the air. Jake stood frozen as he watched the first humans wake up after 200 years of sleep. Their eyes opened slowly, confused and blinking in the red emergency lights. The first person to sit up was a woman with short black hair and captain's stripes on her uniform. She looked around the room with sharp green eyes, taking in everything with the calm focus of a trained soldier. When she saw Jake, she smiled slightly. "Well," she said, her voice rough from the long sleep, "I guess someone found us after all." She climbed out of her pod and walked over to him. "I'm Captain Lisa Hayes, commanding officer of the UES Liberty. And you are?" "Jake Miller," he said, still staring at all the people waking up around them. I'm an archaeologist's assistant." "No, you're not," Captain Hayes said, studying his face carefully. "You're human, which means you're a survivor. That makes you one of the most important people in the galaxy right now." More pods were opening. Men and women in military uniforms were sitting up, looking around in confusion. Some were young, barely out of their teens. Others had gray hair and the scars of old battles. All of them had the same look in their eyes when they realized they were finally awake. A tall man with a beard climbed out of his pod and walked over to the captain. "Status report, Lisa. How long were we out?" "Over 200 years, Rick," Captain Hayes replied. "This is Jake Miller. He's human, and he found us." The man named Rick Stone looked at Jake with surprise. "Human? I thought we were the last ones." "So did I," Jake said quietly. "There aren't many of us left. Most people think we're all dead." "Well, we're not dead," said a woman with red hair who had just woken up. She wore an engineer's uniform. "I'm Sam Roberts, Chief Engineer, Phoenix. Give me a full system report." The hologram of Phoenix appeared next to them. "All systems are functioning at full capacity, Chief Roberts. Weapons are online, shields are charged, and engines are ready. However, I am detecting multiple alien fleets moving toward our position." Captain Hayes turned to Jake. How did you find us? I was working with a Keth archaeologist named Dr. Vera Stone. She's still up there. We were just doing routine excavation work when we found the ship. The Keth, said Rick Stone thoughtfully. They were neutral during the war. What's their position now? They're peaceful, Jake explained. They study old human sites and try to preserve what's left of our history. Dr. Stone is a good person. She's been helping me stay hidden. Phoenix interrupted their conversation. Captain, I am receiving communications from 3 different fleets. The Zephyrian Empire has dispatched 18 warships. The Keth Confederation is sending 12 ships, but their intentions appear diplomatic. The Void Syndicate has 6 ships en route, likely seeking salvage opportunities. The Zephyrians, Captain Hayes said, her voice turning cold. They're the ones who started the Great Purge, aren't they? Jake nodded. They convinced the other major powers that humans were too dangerous to live. They said we would eventually conquer the galaxy if we weren't stopped. A 4th person joined their group. She was young, maybe 25, with blonde hair and lieutenant's stripes. I'm Amy Clark, tactical officer. Captain, what are your orders? Captain Hayes looked around, the room at her awakening crew. There were thousands of them, all trained soldiers and specialists. But outside, 3 different fleets were coming to either capture or destroy them. Phoenix, how many crew members do we have? 50,000 humans in total, Captain. All military personnel. 20,000 are awake and at their stations. The Bayou, remaining 30,000 will be fully awakened within 6 hours. 50,000, Jake whispered. There are 50,000 humans on this ship. The Liberty was an evacuation vessel, Rick Stone explained. We loaded up everyone we could save from Earth's final military bases. Scientists, engineers, soldiers, pilots. The plan was to find a safe place to rebuild. Instead, we buried ourselves and went to sleep, Captain Hayes added, waiting for the day when it would be safe to wake up. Phoenix's hologram flickered. Captain, the Zephyrian fleet has arrived in orbit. They are demanding our immediate surrender. Put them on screen, Captain Hayes ordered. A large view screen appeared on the wall, showing the bridge of a Zephyrian warship. The alien on the screen looked like a large reptile with golden scales and red eyes. He wore the uniform of an admiral. This is Admiral Krex Vorthak of the Zephyrian Imperial Fleet, the alien said in accented English. You are trespassing in Zephyrian space. Surrender, immediately, or we will destroy you. Captain Hayes stepped in front of the screen. This is Captain Lisa Hayes of the United Earthship Liberty. We are not in Zephyrian space. This planet was a human colony, which makes it human territory. Admiral Vorthak laughed, a harsh sound, like grinding metal. Human territory? Humans are extinct. We made sure of that 200 years ago. Clearly, you didn't do a very good job, Captain Hayes replied calmly. The Zephyrian admiral's expression changed to one of rage. You should have stayed buried, human. We will finish what we started. The screen went dark. Well, said Sam Roberts, I guess diplomacy is off the table. Phoenix appeared again. Captain, I am also receiving a message from the Keth fleet. Dr. Vera Stone is aboard their lead ship and requests permission to speak with you. Put her through, Captain Hayes said. Dr. Stone appeared on the screen. Her blue skin was pale with worry and her large black eyes were filled with concern. Captain Hayes, my name is Dr. Vera Stone. Jake Miller works with me. Please, you need to listen to me. The Zephyrians are not going to negotiate. They're going to attack. We know, Captain Hayes replied, but thank you for the warning. There's more, Dr. Stone continued. My government is split. Some want to help you, but others are afraid of starting another war. I can't promise that the Keth will support you. We understand. And Dr. Stone, thank you for taking care of Jake all these years. The screen changed again, this time showing a different alien. This one looked almost human, but with silver skin and completely black eyes. Greetings, humans. I am Vex Karan of the Void Syndicate. We have a business proposition for you. I'm listening, Captain Hayes said. Surrender your ship and technology to us, and we will give you safe passage to neutral space. You can live out your lives in peace? And if we refuse? The alien smiled, showing sharp metal teeth. Then we will take your ship anyway. But you will all be dead. Captain Hayes looked around at her crew. They were all watching her, waiting for her decision. 50,000 humans against the combined fleets of 3 different powers. Phoenix, she said quietly, what are our tactical options? The Liberty is equipped with experimental quantum torpedoes and adaptive shielding technology. Our firepower exceeds that of the combined enemy fleets. However, we are outnumbered approximately 25-1. Captain Hayes smiled for the first time since waking up. Those are better odds than we had during the Great Purge. She turned back to the view screen, where all 3 alien commanders were waiting for her answer. Gentlemen, she said calmly, this is our answer. Humanity has returned, and we are not going quietly into the night. If you want to fight, you'll get one. But remember this moment, because it's the last time you'll have the advantage of numbers. The screen went dark, and emergency alarms began to sound throughout the ship. All hands to battle stations, Captain Hayes announced over the ship's communication system. This is not a drill. After 200 years of sleep, it's time to remind the galaxy why they were afraid of us in the first place. The UES Liberty rose from the ground like a giant metal mountain coming to life. Dirt and rocks fell away from its hull as it lifted into the sky for the first time in over 200 years. Jake Miller stood on the bridge, watching through the main view screen as the planet fell away beneath them. Phoenix, Captain Hayes said from her command chair. Activate the Lazarus Protocol. Acknowledged, Captain. Sending wake-up signals to all buried fleet units across the galaxy. Jake turned to look at her. There are more ships? 46 more, to be exact, Captain Hayes replied. We didn't put all our eggs in one basket. Every ship has been waiting for this signal. On the tactical display, Admiral Vorthak's Zephyrian fleet was moving into attack formation. 18 warships arranged themselves in a battle line, their weapons charging with deadly energy. Incoming transmission from the Zephyrian fleet, reported Amy Clark from her tactical station. On screen, Captain Hayes ordered. Admiral Vorthak appeared again, his red eyes glowing with hatred. Last chance, humans. Surrender now, or we will turn your ship into space dust. Phoenix, Captain Hayes said calmly. Show Admiral Vorthak our weapons display. The view screen changed to show the Liberty's weapon systems coming online. Quantum torpedo tubes opened along the ship's hull, and energy cannons emerged from hidden compartments. The ship's adaptive shield shimmered into existence, creating a protective barrier around the massive vessel. Admiral Vorthak's confident expression changed to one of shock. Impossible. No ship can carry that much firepower. You're about to learn just how wrong you are, Captain Hayes said. Fire. The Liberty's quantum torpedoes streaked across space like blue lightning. They hit the lead Zephyrian ship and tore through its shields as if they weren't even there. The warship exploded in a ball of fire and metal. Direct hit, Amy Clark reported. Enemy ship destroyed. The remaining Zephyrian ships opened fire, sending hundreds of energy beams and missiles toward the Liberty. But the human ship's adaptive shields absorbed the attacks, growing stronger with each hit. Return fire, Captain Hayes ordered. Target their command ship. More quantum torpedoes launched from the Liberty. They moved faster than anything the Zephyrians had ever seen, striking 3 more ships before the aliens could react. 2 ships exploded immediately, while the third spun. Out of control, its engines dead. Impossible, Admiral Vorthak screamed over the communication channel. Our intelligence said human technology was primitive. Your intelligence was 200 years out of date, Captain Hayes replied. She turned to Amy Clark. Target his ship, specifically. I want to send a message. But before Amy could fire, Phoenix interrupted. Captain, I am receiving signals from other awakening ships. The UES Freedom has emerged from Altair Prime. The UES Defiance is rising from Kepler 186F. The UES Retribution is awakening on Gliese 667C. Jake watched in amazement as the tactical display updated to show new contacts across the galaxy. One by one, buried human ships were coming to life, their crews awakening after centuries of sleep. Phoenix, put me in contact with all awakening ships, Captain Hayes ordered. Channel open, Captain. This is Captain Lisa Hayes of the UES Liberty to all awakening human vessels. Welcome back to the land of the living. It's time to remind the galaxy what humanity is capable of. Voices began responding from across space. UES Freedom acknowledging. Commander Ben Carter reporting for duty. UES Defiance online. Captain Kate Morrison ready for orders. UES Retribution awakened. Captain John Davis at your service. One by one, dozens of human captains checked in. Ships that had been buried on dead worlds for over 2 centuries were rising into space, their crews ready for battle. Admiral Vorthak watched his tactical display in growing horror as new human ships appeared throughout Zephyrian space. This is impossible. We destroyed humanity. We watched your worlds burn. You destroyed our colonies, Captain Hayes said. But you never found our military evacuation sites. We've been sleeping, waiting, and preparing for this day. The remaining Zephyrian ships tried to retreat, but the Liberty was faster than they expected. Human engineering had always been focused on one thing: making ships that could outfight anything in space. Amy, disable their engines. I want prisoners for questioning. The Liberty's precise weapons fire crippled the fleeing Zephyrian ships without destroying them. Within minutes, Admiral Vorthak's entire fleet was either destroyed or disabled. Phoenix, what's the status of our awakening fleet? 32 ships are now fully operational, Captain. 14 more are in the process of awakening. Total human forces, 150,000 personnel across all vessels. Jake felt his knees go weak. 150,000 humans? But I thought there were only a few thousand of us left in the entire galaxy. These are military, evacuation ships, explained Rick Stone. Each one carries the survivors from Earth's major military installations. Scientists, engineers, soldiers, pilots, the best and brightest of humanity. Captain Hayes opened a channel to the entire human fleet. All ships, this is Hayes. We have a lot of work to do. The galaxy has forgotten what we're capable of, and it's time to remind them. But we're not conquerors. We're survivors, and we're here to reclaim what was stolen from us. Dr. Vera Stone's voice came over the communication system. Captain Hayes, this is Dr. Stone aboard the Keth vessel Peaceful Dawn. My government has been monitoring your battle. They want to talk. Put them through, Doctor. A new alien appeared on the view screen. This one was Keth like Dr. Stone with pale blue skin and large black eyes. But unlike Dr. Stone, this alien wore the uniform of a high-ranking official. Captain Hayes, I am Chancellor Thijs Morgrim of the Keth Confederation. We wish to discuss terms for peaceful coexistence. I'm listening, Chancellor. The Keth Confederation was neutral during the Great Purge. We did not participate in the attacks on human worlds. In fact, we secretly helped many human refugees find safe haven in neutral space. Captain Hayes looked at Jake, who nodded. It's true. The Keth have been protecting human survivors for over 2 centuries. What do you want from us, Chancellor? Captain Hayes asked. An alliance. The Zephyrian Empire has grown too powerful. They've been conquering neutral worlds and enslaving smaller species. With humanity's return, we have a chance to restore balance to the galaxy. Before Captain Hayes could respond, Phoenix interrupted again. Captain, long-range sensors are detecting a massive fleet movement. The Zephyrian Empire is mobilizing. Their entire home fleet. Over 300 ships are heading toward human awakening sites. How long until they arrive? 72 hours, Captain. Captain Hayes looked around her bridge at her crew. They had won their first battle, but the real war was just beginning. The Zephyrian Empire wasn't going to let humanity return without a fight. Phoenix, send a message to all human ships. Tell them to prepare for the largest space battle in galactic history. She turned back to Chancellor Morgrim. Chancellor, if your people are serious about an alliance, now would be a good time to prove it. What do you need? Intelligence on Zephyrian fleet movements, supply line information, and safe harbors for our ships. In return, we'll help you free those neutral worlds the Zephyrians have conquered. Chancellor Morgrim smiled. Captain Hayes, I believe this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship." As the Liberty moved through space toward the next awakening site, Jake stood at the observation deck watching the stars. For the first time in his life, he wasn't hiding. He wasn't pretending to be something he wasn't. He was human, and humanity had returned to take their place among the stars. The galaxy would never be the same again. 3 days later, the human fleet gathered at the edge of Zephyrian space. 47 ships hung in the darkness between the stars, their hulls gleaming under the light of distant suns. Jake Miller stood on the bridge of the UES Liberty, watching, as the largest space fleet humanity had assembled in over 2 centuries prepared for battle. Admiral Danny Brooks had taken command of the combined human fleet. He was an older man with gray hair and tired eyes, but his voice was strong when he spoke to the captains of all 47 ships. "This is it, people. The Zephyrian home fleet is waiting for us at their capital world. 300 ships against our 47. They think numbers will save them." Captain Hayes sat in her command chair, listening to the tactical briefing. "What's our battle plan, Admiral?" "Simple," Admiral Brooks replied. "We hit them hard and fast. Phoenix has been analyzing their fleet formations for the past 3 days. They're using the same tactics they used during the Great Purge. They haven't learned anything new in 200 years. Commander Ben Carter's voice came over the communication system from the UES Freedom. "Admiral, what about civilian casualties? Zephyr Prime has over 1 billion people on it." "We're not targeting the planet," Admiral Brooks said firmly. "We're here to destroy their military fleet, not to commit genocide. We're better than they are." Jake watched the tactical display as it showed the approaching Zephyrian fleet. The enemy ships were arranged in a massive wall formation, trying to use their superior numbers to overwhelm the humans. But something about their formation looked wrong to him. "Captain Hayes," he said quietly, "can I talk to you for a moment?" She looked at him with surprise. "Of course, Jake. What is it?" "I've been studying the Zephyrian formation. It looks like they're trying to surround us, but they've left gaps in their lines. Big gaps." Captain Hayes called up the tactical display on her personal screen. "Phoenix, analyze the enemy formation. Are there weaknesses we can exploit?" "Affirmative, Captain. The Zephyrian fleet is positioned to encircle our forces, but they have created several vulnerable points in their formation. If we concentrate our firepower on these gaps, we can break through their lines and attack their command ships directly." Admiral Brooks had been listening to their conversation. "Good eye, Jake. Phoenix, transmit the updated battle plan to all ships." The human fleet moved forward into Zephyrian space. As they approached the enemy fleet, Jake could see the massive size difference. The Zephyrian ships were everywhere, filling space like a metal storm cloud. "All ships, this is Admiral Brooks. Remember, we're not just fighting for ourselves, we're fighting for every human who died during the Great Purge. We're fighting for the right to exist in this galaxy. Make them count." The battle began with a massive exchange of weapons fire. The Zephyrian fleet opened fire first, sending thousands of energy beams and missiles toward the human ships. But the human vessels were ready. Their adaptive shields absorbed the attacks while their quantum torpedoes struck back with devastating precision. The first wave of human torpedoes destroyed 12 Zephyrian ships in the opening minutes of the battle. The enemy fleet tried to adjust their formation, but the humans were already moving to exploit the gaps Jake had spotted. "All ships, execute breakthrough maneuver," Admiral Brooks ordered. The human fleet split into 3 groups and drove straight through the weak points in the Zephyrian formation. The UES Liberty led one group directly toward the enemy command ship, while the other groups attacked the flanks. "Enemy flagship identified," Amy Clark reported from her tactical station. "It's Admiral Vorthak's new command ship, the Zephyrian Revenge." Captain Hayes smiled grimly. "How appropriate. All weapons. Target that ship." But Admiral Vorthak wasn't going down without a fight. His flagship and its escort ships concentrated all their firepower on the Liberty. The human ship's shields flared under the massive attack, and Jake felt the deck shake beneath his feet. "Shields down to 60%, Sam Roberts reported from engineering. "But we're holding." "Return fire," Captain Hayes ordered. The Liberty's quantum torpedoes struck the enemy flagship, but its shields held. The two massive ships exchanged fire at close range, their weapons lighting up space with deadly energy. Around them, the battle raged as human and Zephyrian ships fought in the darkness between worlds. But slowly, the superior human technology began to show. One by one, Zephyrian ships were destroyed or disabled while the human fleet remained largely intact. Admiral, Captain Kate Morrison reported from the UES Retribution. We've broken through their left flank. Enemy ships are beginning to retreat. Pursue and disable, Admiral Brooks ordered. Don't let them regroup. Jake watched the tactical display as the tide of battle turned. The Zephyrian fleet, which had seemed so overwhelming just an hour ago, was now scattered and broken. Many ships were trying to flee, but the faster human vessels were hunting them down. Phoenix, Captain, Hayes said. Open a channel to Admiral Vorthak. The enemy admiral appeared on screen. His golden scales were now dull with defeat, and his red eyes showed fear for the first time. Admiral Vorthak, Captain Hayes said calmly, your fleet is destroyed. Surrender now, and your remaining ships will be spared. Never, Vorthak snarled. We will never surrender to humans. Then you will die as you lived, Captain Hayes replied, with hatred in your heart and blood on your hands. The final exchange of fire lasted only minutes. The Liberty's quantum torpedoes overwhelmed the enemy flagship's failing shields, and the Zephyrian Revenge exploded in a brilliant flash of light. With their leader dead and their fleet in ruins, the remaining Zephyrian ships finally surrendered. The battle was over and humanity had won. Admiral Brooks opened a channel to all human ships. Well done, everyone. We've just fought the largest space battle in galactic history, and we've won. But this is not the end. This is the beginning. 3 months later, Jake Miller stood in the rebuilt Galactic Council chambers on the neutral world of Harmony Station. He wore the uniform of a human diplomat, representing Earth's interests to the galaxy. It still felt strange to be in uniform, to be proud of what he was instead of hiding it. Captain Hayes, now promoted to Admiral, stood at the podium addressing the representatives of dozens of different species. The human government has no desire for conquest or revenge. We want only what was taken from us, the right to exist, the right to our former colonies, and the right to defend ourselves. The Keth representative, Chancellor Morgrim, stood up. The Keth Confederation supports humanity's return and offers full diplomatic recognition. One by one, other species added their voices. The Altarians, who had secretly helped human refugees for 2 centuries. The Vegan Commonwealth, who had always opposed the Great Purge. Even some former Zephyrian colonies, now free from their oppressors, offered friendship to the returning humans, but the most important moment came when Dr. Vera Stone approached Jake after the session ended. So, she said with a smile, I guess you're not my research assistant anymore. Jake laughed. I'll always be grateful for what you did for me, Vera. You saved my life and you helped me stay human when the rest of the galaxy wanted us dead. And now? Jake looked out the station's viewport at the human ships in orbit. The UES Liberty was there, along with dozens of other vessels. More ships were awakening every day as Phoenix continued to send signals to buried fleets across the galaxy. Now we rebuild, he said. We go back to our old worlds and make them green again. We explore new stars and make new friends. We do what humans have always done best. And what's that? We survive. We adapt. We never give up. 5 years later, the first new human colony was established on New Terra, a world that had been empty since the Great Purge. Children who had never seen sunlight walked on grass for the first time. Scientists who had slept for centuries resumed their research. Engineers began building cities that would last for 1,000 years, and in the deepest parts of space, Phoenix continued to send out signals. Because the buried ships weren't the only secret humanity had kept. Far beyond the edge of known space, a massive generation ship called the UES Exodus had been building a new civilization for 200 years, and they had just received the awakening signal. The galaxy thought humanity's return was over, but it had only just begun.